Hi friends, welcome here. My name is Oshina. I'm going to be sharing some books kind of in honor of March Mystery Madness, but these are going to be my favorite romantic suspense books that I have read so far. So I have dabbled in romantic suspense kind of for a couple of years now, but I'm definitely very picky now as well. So these are the best books that I've read so far. They're all Christian fiction and they all have some kind of suspense element, but also romance. What I look for in romantic suspense is a strong group of characters that I feel a connection to, either that they have good emotional depth or that there's a romance that I can attach to right away. Basically, I'm looking for character growth and a connection with the characters to really care about the story. I'm not reading a romantic suspense for the mystery. The mystery can help drive the plot and definitely keep me interested, but ultimately it is about the characters for me. So that's kind of what these books will have. They'll have strong characters, good romance, and then also an interesting plot that like keeps it going, but that's not exactly why I'm reading. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm gonna write all of these books down below and link them, and some of these will be really obvious and then some I haven't talked about in quite a while, so I'm excited to share. So my very first dabble into romantic suspense was an amazing one, and it was the Alaskan Courage series by Pettrey. This is the first book called Submerged, and I have hyped this series on my channel ever since I read it. I think I read it in like 2018 or something, or maybe not that long ago, 2019, 2020, something like that. Anyways, and I'm so happy to continue to recommend this because it really is so good. It follows a strong group of characters. They all work in kind of a search and rescue. It's set in Alaska, and each person on the team has a romance. Some of them are family members and some of them are just friends. And overall, I really thought that the way the author wrote the characters, how they grew, there was strong faith. This was also my first ever experience reading from the villain's point of view, so you do get little chapters here and there of the bad guy and what he's thinking and what he's doing, and so that was really freaky. I'd never read anything like that before, and I thought it was really well done. It was definitely unsettling, but not too much. And then what I really liked is over the span of the 5 books, there is an overarching mystery that is playing a part in each individual mystery in each book, and then it all comes together in the last book, which was done so well. And yeah, I just was very invested, and this still stands as one of my favorite romantic suspense series of all time, and I think it's Dani Pettrey's strongest work to this point, so definitely highly recommend this. Okay, and then a series I haven't talked about in so long because I technically haven't completed it. It's the O'Malley series by Dee Henderson. So I read The Negotiator fairly soon after reading Alaskan Courage, because this series was highly recommended by a lot of you guys because I'd never heard of Dee Henderson before and I didn't know anything about this series, so I started with The Negotiator. There is a prequel to it that I have read as well, but I didn't feel like I missed anything. I just started with The Negotiator, and I gave it 5 stars when I read it. It has similar vibes to the Alaskan Courage, but slightly more focus on the mystery and suspense rather than the romance. But the romance was solid and the characters were really strong. You follow this O'Malley family, and they're all kind of an adoptive family. They were all foster kids together, so that's how they are connected. And you follow their romances, but mainly they each had a faith issue that they had to work on. They all, I think, how many books? I haven't read all of them. I think there might be 5 or 6. And each sibling, I guess, had an issue with God where it was keeping them from faith. And in the book of theirs, they work through it. And so faith was the strongest aspect in this series for me, which I really liked. I did kind of lose interest. I think I stopped at book 3. I think I'm technically on book 4 if I continued, but I'm not interested in continuing anymore. It's been so long. But if you haven't tried The Negotiator in particular, for me, that was the strongest book and I liked it the most. So if you want to just read that one, I still think it's worth it. And again, the faith content really stands out. So, okay, another super favorite is If I Run by Terri Blackstock. This is a trilogy, and this was also super hyped on BookTube in general a couple of years ago. And what's so good about this one is the way the books are so fast paced and they pick up exactly where each book leaves off. So there's no time in between. It really feels like you're watching one long movie, and it was done so well. I didn't feel like any moment was wasted or like anything was too drawn out. I was very engaged the whole time. And for this one, it is kind of more so the plot that is keeping me interested, although you really get to know this one girl character that you're following, Casey. She's on the run from the police because she believes the police are dirty and she is going to be accused of murder that she didn't do. So she's trying to get on the run, but then also try to solve this murder. And along the way, she does meet this private investigator who's hired to find her, and they end up crossing paths, and he realizes that she's innocent, so they end up working together and it's their romance. But none of that comes into play in book one, but I was still so hooked. The writing was infectious. Like, it was so easy to read, such a quick read, and just fascinating. It was just, I think it was unique as well because you're following a character on the run from the law enforcement. Usually you're following a law enforcement officer, but you were not in this book. I mean, technically it switched perspectives to the private investigator guy, but like, he wasn't associated with any one law enforcement. But then when they do get together, it's like so amazing. And then there's also good faith content. So like, overall, this is so strong. I really want to read it again because I've only read them once, and like, I mean, it's still so fresh in my mind. That's what's crazy. Like, I can still picture the scenes I remember reading because it was just so good. So yeah, highly recommend this one. And it's a trilogy, so it's a bit shorter. So most romantic suspense are like long series. So it's nice that this is a trilogy. Okay, another one that I don't have to hold up, but it is the Kaely Quinn Profiler trilogy by Nancy Mehl. It's kind of hard to remember, but the first book is called Mind Games. And I read this way back in the day. Well, not that long ago. Whenever I read it, I got it as a recommendation from Chantel. I think she was the first one that I saw read this, and it sounded really interesting because it's a different bit of a spin. So like, you follow this woman who is a profiler of basically serial killers, and also her dad was a serial killer. So that's what got her into this business. And she's very good at it because she does this kind of weird thing, which it was kind of weird to read, but like, it was definitely all surrounded by faith. But basically she pretends to have a conversation with the serial killer to figure out who they are. And it's hard to explain just saying that. You have to kind of read it to understand. But she kind of personifies the serial killer and like starts having a conversation with them as she would imagine them answering, to like figure out their personality. So she's like very smart in terms of like psychology and how people work and how serial killers think. And so that was very interesting. It kept me interested that way. There's very light. There's like basically no romance in this first book. She does have a partner, but it's completely platonic. Like, there are not even any vibes of romance, in my opinion, in the first book. But you're basically trying to solve how to find the serial killer that is doing his business, and she has to work together with her partner to figure that out. And this is a trilogy, so the cool thing about this one is because her dad was a serial killer, he's in jail right now, and there's a lot of like just discourse around that throughout the trilogy. So that was really interesting to me. And then I really found Kaely in particular, her character, so interesting. And again, the writing of this was very fast-paced, very engaging. So overall, I liked it a lot. You do get perspectives of the serial killer, which was unsettling. Like, Nancy Mehl takes it just that bit farther than Dani Pettrey does. Like, Nancy Mehl, she writes some twisted thoughts of these killers. So keep that in mind, but still very interesting. And I loved the whole wrap up, and then romance does eventually come into play, which is my favorite thing. And so overall, definitely a solid trilogy to get into if that interests you. Okay, another one, the Annie Peterson trilogy by Colleen Coble. This feels like such a random one-off for me because most other Colleen books that I've tried, I do not like. I just find them boring, but there's something about, I think, first of all, the audiobook is really good for this whole trilogy, but Edge of Dusk is the first book. It is so interesting right away because there's a lot of family drama, and I was able somehow, the way the characters were written, I was able to connect with the character of Annie like right away, and I was interested in what was going on in her life. And she is a single mom, she has a child, and you figure out what's going on with that. She has a romance, and it's like second chance romance, childhood friends to lovers kind of. And all of that was so interesting. And then I think also the setting really worked because it was set kind of in this like forest area where like bad things are happening in the forest. That's where you die. And I just found that was like different than what I'd read in a while. And I don't know, I liked the setting. It all just worked. So I ended up really liking this trilogy. They're all 4 stars for me. I wouldn't say it's a favorite, but it does stand out just because normally I don't like her books, but I really liked this trilogy. So yeah, you guys have seen quite a few reviews of this trilogy because the last book came out last year and we've all like talked about it quite a bit, but I would recommend it if that sounds good to you, and try the audiobook because it was really good. Okay, another 4-star series for me is the Chesapeake Valor series by Dani Pettrey. So after I read Alaskan Courage, I saw that she had another series, and so I started with this one. I think the first book is called Cold Shot, and they're all good. Like nothing super stands out. They're kind of forgettable, but they all are 4 stars because they had good faith content, solid characters, like decent romance. Like nothing was wrong with it, but nothing stands out about it. But if you just like romantic suspense in general, I would say this is a good trilogy or series to get into. It's 4 books, I think. And I read all of them, gave them all 4 stars. So yeah, I would still recommend it if you like Dani Pettrey's writing. It was very similar, and I still think Alaskan Courage is the better one though. Okay, another one is Extreme Measures by Lynette Eason, and I've only read the first 2 books, Life Flight and then Crossfire, I think. Life Flight was 5 stars because I felt like the way she wrote the suspense of like running from the bad guy was so exciting. She did that really well. And then there was like enough character interaction, romance right away for me to be like, ooh, I'm interested. I want to keep reading. And I just felt like the way the action was written was really well done. I think I didn't quite connect with the characters enough to want to finish the series, even though I really liked Life Flight and Crossfire. So I would still recommend starting this series. Maybe it's a trilogy, I forget, or a 4-book series, something like that. And I mean, I liked Lynette Eason's writing. I would continue reading from her. I just haven't yet for some reason, but yeah, recommend. Okay, and then I just started Dani Pettrey's new series called Jeopardy Falls. So this is book 1. It came out in January, I think, or February, and called One Wrong Move. I read this in January, so I will link my wrap-up down below because I do explain a little bit more in that video. But this was good. This was, I feel the spark back with Dani Pettrey because of this book, because the characters were so good. I feel like the characters stood out the most, and there was definitely like romance kind of right away, which I liked. Like basically the characters meeting each other and then like saying like, oh, they're nice, oh, they're cute, oh, whatever. So that's good. You do get perspectives of the bad guys. It was not unsettling, so that was nice. And then the overall mystery was fairly basic, which worked for me because I didn't care. I just wanted to see the characters. So because the mystery felt basic, I mean, is it basic? Whatever. It's about an art heist, and then there are some deaths involved too, but like guy and girl have to meet up and try to solve this art heist. And I thought it was done really well. So overall, I'm excited, and for sure meeting this like little group of family. So there's 2 brothers and a sister. I like them. I like them a lot. You're gonna see them have romances. One of the brothers is the main character in this one, and he has a romance, and I loved it. And the faith content was really good. Like I felt like these were mature Christian adults figuring out romance, and I really loved that. So that stood out the most for me. This is 4 stars. I'm excited to keep reading this series, so I recommend checking this out if it sounds good. I feel like I've been talking forever. This is crazy. Okay, another series that I'm really excited about is called Defend and Protect by Lynn H. Blackburn. The first book was called Unknown Threat, and this is called Malicious Intent. This is book 2. I have it ready to go. But Unknown Threat, I read that in February. Loved it. Really loved it. Because okay, first of all, there's humor. There was like some funny banter that I liked. Like good romance right away, but banter. Okay, so that stands out a lot. And even just banter between friends. Like she just wrote dialogue really well. That stands out the most to me. The mystery, I think the mystery felt more personal because it was about Secret Service agents getting killed, and they're trying to figure out who is killing these Secret Service agents. So they get an FBI investigator, detective, to like help with that. So there's a romance with them, and I just loved everything about it. And so I'm really excited to read this book because it follows one of the guys on the team of the Secret Service. And he had a great personality in book 1, so I can't wait to see whose romance is with in this book, because there's like not many girls around, so they're gonna have to just pop up and we shall see. But yeah, I do recommend this one. Read it for the romance, you guys, and the banter. It was good. Okay, this is technically considered romantic suspense. It's Dangerous Beauty, and then I'll also include Never Miss by the same author. These are her 2 published books, and they are incredible. I recently read Never Miss. I have a whole reading blog for it, so I'll link that down below. And then I do actually have a reading blog for this book too, so I'll link that down below. It's from last year. These books are so different and so interesting because of the writing style. The writing is really like, it's all about being in these characters' heads. It almost feels like a character study. Like, you're with these characters and they're fascinating. They're really good at what they do, and they're trying to solve these like large scale problems. And it's so fun. It's really fun to read. So they also take on like very serious topics. So Dangerous Beauty is about human trafficking, and then Never Miss is about the Ebola virus and a pandemic getting released. So it's just it's major. Okay, you can't solve that in one book, but she kind of does, within reason, you know. But like, oh, it's so good. And because it centers around the characters, there's romance. Okay, romance to get attached to right away. And then the overall plot, they're just so smart that they are successful in what they do, and it's really satisfying to read. So I highly recommend these books. They're really, really good. Definitely a unique voice in romantic suspense. Her writing is not like anything I've ever read. It's very good. So highly recommend. Okay, next, Aftermath. This is a nice old standalone by Terri Blackstock. And I was really entertained by this book. What I liked, which felt kind of different for, I don't know, romantic suspense in general, she's changed perspectives between 3 different characters rather than 2, and I really liked that. So we got perspectives of a female detective, the guy who's getting accused and needs her help, and then a random teenage girl that you will see how they all come together. But I really liked that change, so I was interested in all 3 characters. Basically, this guy is like falsely accused of like setting off a bomb in a concert. The teenage girl's at the concert. The guy gets caught with a bomb in his truck and he doesn't know how he got there. And then the girl is who he calls up for help to be his lawyer, pretty much. And so you follow them trying to figure out what happened. And I just found it so interesting. I really liked it. It was well written. It was fast paced. There was like a little bit of tea drama with some family members and good romance. Like, overall, this is just like a great standalone romantic suspense to read, and I loved it. So I gave that 5 stars. And then I want to recommend Smokescreen by Terri Blackstock as well. This one is so good. It had some mystery in it, but it was really about this single mom. She has 2 kids. She is struggling with alcohol, and you see her basically run to Jesus for help, because alcohol is like taking over her life. And then she also kind of meets up with this childhood friend who realizes her issue with alcohol and starts to help her. He also is a firefighter, and there's been arson around the town, so that's kind of what the mystery is figuring out this arson. But again, it was such a sweet story, lots of good faith content, solid character work, good romance. It's another great standalone by Terri Blackstock, so I do recommend that one too. Yo, I think that's it. It doesn't look like that many books on my list, but like, I feel like that was so many books. So I'm gonna write them all down below. This is the best romantic suspense that I've read, and there is so much out there. There's authors I haven't even tried yet, you know. So based on all of these recommendations, based on what I said that I like to read in romantic suspense, please recommend me some romantic suspense books to try, because as you know, I want like a good old team of characters to root for, and I want romance. I don't care what the suspense is. I don't care what the mystery is. I don't even care what the law enforcement is. I'm not attracted to any of those things. It is the characters and the romance, you guys. So yeah, my motto, okay? So again, write them down below. Thank you for watching, you guys. I really hope this was helpful and entertaining, and you got some recommendations. I have talked about quite a few of these a lot, but I wanted one video where all of my romantic suspense recommendations are. So of all of the ones I read, these are the ones that I like. Okay, so thank you for watching again. I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.